G'day guys and welcome to the Purebred Reds Adelaide United Fan TV. I'm your host Ellis Gelios. We're standing outside Coopers Stadium. I'm here with Chris Adams from the Red Army, the media manager at the Red Army. We're here to obviously preview tomorrow afternoon's game against Melbourne City. It's a huge game, Chris. But before we get into anything, just want to quickly shout out that the best experience you're going to get watching an away game without obviously being there is attending the Brompton Hotel with the Red Army. So Chris, obviously it's a place to be, great venue, and first away trip of the season. Let's get as many people joining the Red Army as possible down at the Brompton. What do you reckon?
Absolutely, great food, great drinks, everything you could ask for at a live screening pub in Adelaide, so make sure you're there if you're not travelling.
Beautiful. Guys, make sure you shout out a question if you have one and we'll get to it straight away. So we're going to jump straight into it, Chrissy. So as mentioned, games at 3:30pm. It's available to be seen on Fox Sports or KO. Now, Chris, let's get straight into it. So, regarding the team lists from both an Adelaide and Melbourne City perspective, it doesn't look crash hot for us at the moment. This is mainly highlighted by the fact that we don't have Jordan Elsey tomorrow, and they are welcoming back Jamie Maclaren from international duty. And of course, Jamie Maclaren starred for Melbourne City for the Socceroos, Melbourne City's striker who they signed back in January. Now, what I want to ask you, Chris, basically, how do you line up? So, there's no Elsey. We've got to worry about Maclaren. What do you do with Gert-Jan Verbeek's back four? Do you go with Michael Moroney, Elsey, and then do you use Kiddo and possibly Maria as two fullbacks? Or do you throw in the youngster whose name is, where is it here? Yared Abechu from the youth team. Do you throw him in? How do you go about it?
Look, it's going to be a tough one given that we've got the FA Cup final on Wednesday night. And I think this is a really bad situation to be in at this stage of the season, given that it's only like round 2. And I got the strongest possible indication from listening to Bruce Jutte's transfer and squad update that Elsie's injury might actually be a little worse than it seems. I don't know anything about that. I don't want to speculate. But we're in a bad situation where do you start our senior players or do you give chance for someone like Yared to start and then rest someone for the game on Wednesday night? Obviously, if Ryan Strain's out suspended. I personally think that at the moment a cup final is more important than a league game, and I know that was actually a poll in today's Red Army group. Personally, I'd take the cup any day of the week, so for this game at least I'd start with Yared as a centre-back alongside Michael Jakobsen, and then our fullbacks Michael Moroney and Ryan Kiddo. But look, you could take it either way, because I also got an impression that the club wanted to use Michael Moroney as a backup centre-back in the event of somebody getting injured. And now we're going to be in that situation, so we don't have another right back if Moroney goes to centre-half. So, you know, do we start Mikel Maria as a right back or Ryan Kiddo as a right back? I know Ryan Kiddo has played on the right wing in the past for us. But look, personally, I'd like to keep Moroney and Kiddo as the two fullbacks and start a youth player. I've seen Yared play this season, and so I know he's got a lot of talent, and I'm just wondering if he's capable of making that step up, because I thought that Diorigo didn't do too badly, just to use him as an example. But you know, he's a young player, so is Yared. I'm not sure that they're quite ready experience-wise, talent-wise definitely, but experience, it's a big occasion. We haven't beaten City on their home turf since 2016, so it's been about 4 seasons now, in fact.
2 draws there last season, and of course lost here.
Yeah, 2 draws last season there, and then prior to that we had a 5-0 loss, which was
back in Kurtz's first season.
Kurtz's first season, yeah. So look, I don't want to talk about sort of breaking a duck yet. This is going to be, I think, our only game against City there this season, unless we make finals and play there again. So you know, it would be nice to get a win, but I'm looking at it from the perspective of we have a final 3 days later, and we need as many senior players fit as possible. So I personally think we should flood the youth.
Yeah, so basically, just before we go on, guys, how would you line up in terms of the back four? Make sure you post it in the comments and we'll address it. Moving into the midfield dilemma now, Chris. So we had Louis Dorigo come in and start against Sydney FC in round 1. probably wasn't his best outing, and we can't blame him for it because he's got such little experience playing in the senior team, of course. But what I want to ask you now, James Troisi has been promoted, which is the biggest news for us. Do you go with Troisi? Do you throw him straight in, given that we really need to start picking up points? Or do you put some trust back in the likes of Vinny Leah, for instance? How's that midfield three going to work for you?
Look, I don't think that James Troisi is ready at the moment. He's lacking a lot of match fitness, and that's what I've already referenced GTA's squad update, and he mentioned that Troisi is lacking a lot of match fitness. Obviously, Konstantopoulos was omitted last week. Boland was out with a hamstring, just that it was a precautionary out. Bolden's back into the team as well, but these are players who, okay, we know Troisi's not going to play in the final because we've missed the deadline. Boland, we need him because I personally see Boland as a vital cog in our midfield.
Absolutely.
I think that we should be starting. Absolutely, I reckon Vince Leah should get a go because he's not going to. I wouldn't put faith in him in the final. Not that he's not willing, able to. I think that we need to be going with as strong a midfield as possible with the likes of Boland and McGree and maybe Konstantopoulos and maybe Diorigo for the cup final. So looking at it, it would make sense if we start Troisi. It wouldn't make sense if we started Boland because he's extremely important.
And of course we need him for the cup final.
Exactly
Troisi
right.
can't play in it.
So it's just down to, okay, if I knew that Troisi was match fit or he could at least run out 60 minutes, absolutely I'd start him. I just don't know how much he's got in the legs at the moment, or whether he's somebody who we could bring on, say, in the second half for I think McGree's a guaranteed starter. I may be wrong, but if McGree starts, we could swap him at half time for Troisi, depending on how much he's got. So I think we shouldn't risk Boland, but if Troisi's got the legs in him, start him definitely.
Yeah, and this obviously alludes to the whole poll that was created earlier today, which isn't really overly polarising in the end, but the question was put out on the Red Army forum. You can go vote now if you have an opinion on it. Would you rather get 3 points and really kick off our A-League season and get the ball rolling in our A-League campaign, or would you rather not prioritise the FFA Cup final? Prioritise the FFA Cup final is what I meant to say there, and obviously put silverware in the bank. Now, most of us, I assume, would want the silverware, but there are traditionalists out there that don't really value the FFA Cup. So for them, they don't really view, next Wednesday night as being as much of an esteemed event as a lot of others do. So make sure you comment whether you think, it's more important for us to really preserve our best players for Sunday against Melbourne City or Wednesday night in the FFA Cup final. Moving along, Chris. So, what I want to ask you here, have you got any comments relating to our latest signing, Chen Yong Bin? Obviously, he's come from Kingdale Red Lions as, I think, reserve squad. He hasn't played a game. He hasn't played a senior game in China. He's our latest signing. Any comments to make? 20 years old, attacking midfielder.
It's a difficult one. I really don't want to jump the gun yet because there are great commercial opportunities that could come from this. I don't want to say will, but could come from this. It seems like there is, at least in the mind of our chairman, there's logic behind it. I don't mind. I'm sitting on the fence at the moment. I really have no opinion. I'm going to just take the long approach and wait to see what really comes out of it. To our viewers, what are your thoughts on Chen signing for us? Make sure you comment that and we'll read them all out. Look, if the club wasn't willing to make another visa spot, whether Verbeek wanted another visa player or not, it's up to the squad, up to the club, and I have no opinion on that at the moment. I'm just going to sit and wait to see how it all plays out because we could end up unveiling the next Q or whoever, so it could end up working really well. The kid could have a lot of talent. So at the moment, really, I'm not going to say anything more, to be honest with you.
Fair enough. Sitting on the fence. Now, here's the big one for today, the big news item. Obviously, the news came out yesterday. Ken Ilso suspended for 2 years for that drug ban. He was obviously found guilty of taking cocaine during his time with us. Leads me to ask you, Chris, is he the biggest flop of all time in Adelaide United's history, considering everything?
No, I wouldn't call him the biggest flop. I think that he scored a couple of key goals, especially his goal against Victory was very, very important. And, he was the game changer when we beat Wellington. I seem to remember he did change a few games when he came on. And, if you have a flop, I'd say that Tomasin was a bigger flop because I'm trying to think as to whether United actually won any games that Tomasin played in. If I'm talking about Ken Ilser, I thought that he was perhaps a little hard done by. He had fitness issues, that was well documented. But to use last year's cup final as an example, Ken Ilser came on and changed the complexion of the game, and all of a sudden we were attacking with some real grit and some might. I can't really overlook the fact that he scored an extremely crucial goal against Melbourne Victory to give us all 3 points, and then twice against Wellington. Also, he started the move that led to our winning goal against the Mariners. So he had quite a few movements and involvements that led to us scoring goals in key games. But I don't want to class him as our biggest ever flop because we had players like Dario Bodrosic, Slorry, if I'm talking about the Coolan era, Lloyd Owusu, to name a few. They have my take at Jordi Tomasin is honestly, he's the one that comes fresh to mind, really. I wouldn't call him our biggest flop, but he's definitely up there. I feel sorry for him.
Do you?
I feel a little... I wouldn't say sorry for him. I liked him.
What do you feel sorry for him about?
I liked him. I don't feel sorry for the fact that he was banned for doping, obviously, but I just feel as though he had intentions, like he wanted to do well with us, and he just seemed to, he either didn't get his chance or he just couldn't work for it.
I'm going to completely not cop this whatsoever. I think he was a disgrace, and I didn't see any evidence at all that he cared about bettering his own performances or aiding the team in any way. So I'm sorry, Chris, I'm not giving you that.
Fair enough.
How do you personally rate City's squad this season? Obviously, there's real hype. Pretty much the entire Fox Sports panel said that their favourite is Melbourne City to win the A-League this season. Are they sort of dipping into this a little bit too far? Or is there plenty of reason to get on the Mom Bates train at the moment? What do you reckon?
I can't say that I was too pleased. This is going back a while, but my first sort of watch of City's squad was against Campbelltown, and Campbelltown did extremely well to nullify them Campbelltown losing 3-1 to City was flattering to Melbourne City, given that Campbelltown really silenced them for a lot of the game and got a goal out on equal terms. They probably could have taken the lead. That's going back a while. They've had a lot of time to gel. I think that saying that they're title favourites is really, it's a huge overstep, because I haven't been too impressed with them, to be honest. They've been okay. That's saying last week against Melbourne Victory, it was
of a bore draw.
An absolute bore draw. Yep. They had a quite easy run to the FFA Cup final as well. I think that they've got a strong squad. I'm just not convinced with them at the moment. They're going to be top six. Top six is a given. Top four probably. They have some decent attackers, Jamie McLaren and Craig Noon, for example. I'm just not convinced by them at the moment. And in saying that, we could end up getting absolutely smashed tomorrow night. I just personally, we beat them in a friendly when it was our first team playing their first team
over there
in pre-season. Over there. And obviously, that's just a friendly, but that was a good test given that they had both squads that had FA Cup games behind them. I'm just not convinced by City at the moment. I think they're top four. I wouldn't overstep and say that they're title favourites. So
fair enough. We move forward. So basically, what I want to ask you is this sort of like a true teaser of what's to come Wednesday night? I mean, there's a cup final, obviously, and there's people saying tomorrow might be potentially quite cagey because both teams are just going to be feeling each other out in preparation for, obviously, the big game next Wednesday night here at Cooper Stadium. How do you see it sort of panning out tomorrow? Do you think, this could be very one-sided, whether it's in Adelaide or City's camp, or do you think we're in for a potential stalemate like we did see twice there last year, obviously?
Well, look, that's what has been. There are all the questions that have been popping up in the media and press conferences this week. I was watching Michael Moroney gave a press conference, and that was one of the first questions that was asked. You know, do you want to see how they play? Is it going to be are you going to be like basically a preview for the cup final? These clubs have played each other 3 times in pre-season. They know how they play. Tomorrow night we could see a draw. They could still, given that it's competitive now, they could try and pull something out. United squad, I can almost guarantee that we will be lining up differently for the final than we will tomorrow night.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how it's going to happen. I think they already know how each other's going to play. And this is almost a repeat of last season where we had Sydney FC in round 1, then we had them in the FFA Cup final, which was between round 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So in that game, it didn't really. I don't feel like we were testing each other out last year, to use it as an example. And then we ended up having probably the best FFA Cup final in the competition's history. So I don't really think that it's going to be us testing each other out. It could be cagey because that's what history suggests has been in the past few games at City away. You know, 0-0 and 1-1 last season. They're pretty boring games. I was at one of them, and it was probably the worst away trip I've ever done.
We've heard about it plenty of times.
Okay, I'll talk about it was boring atmosphere, club that lacks an identity, and club that really.
A lot of that was down to Warren Joyce as well.
I don't want to get into that because that's last season. But you know, history suggests it could be just a caged game because it's just City away. But look, I don't want to say that it's going to be like a preview to the final because different players will be picked, and you'll have a different mentality because this is a round 2 game. You've got 26 or 27 more rounds to go in the season.
Sure.
Then you have the cup final, which is a trophy like 2 weeks into the season. So I think different mentalities, different squads. It's not really. I don't think it's going to be a preview for the game. I don't think we'll be testing each other out.
Should he start Toure again or Opseth? How's it going to work going forward?
Well, you know, you always say that it just depends on what the coach sees in training. But if I could pick one based on form, I'd start Opseth tomorrow and Toure for the final. Just because Toure's been an absolute rich reign of form, and he's been scoring for fun. You know, we haven't seen that. We haven't seen a striker who's been just scoring pretty well. He gets a chance, puts it away.
Not since Nathan Burns back when I was probably about 12 years old. Chris, basically, want your prediction, score. Who scores for us if there's going to be any? What's the result going to be?
I don't see us getting a win tomorrow, to be honest with you. I think that it will be a draw or we'll lose. If we lose, it'll be tight. So probably if we lose, it'll be a 1-goal margin. If I could give a prediction, probably 2-1 to them. Scoring for us, though, look, if Toure plays, I reckon he'll score. He scored against him in pre-season. If Opseth plays, I think it'll be a striker's game. I don't see our wingers scoring tomorrow. But it's going to be, I don't think we'll get more than a goal tomorrow. So maybe 1-1 or 2-1 to them.
Before we go, memberships for the Red Army.
Yeah, guys, memberships are available now. They're $40. They go to supporting the organisation. Go to TIFOs. You get access to our family fun day, which we're working on a venue for that at the moment. You get a free Red Army snapback hat. They're beautiful. I wear it all the time when I'm out. And of course, you get drink specials to the Brompton Hotel, which is our home base. So make sure you see Robbie Anderson. They're available online. Check our Facebook page out, or go to the Brompton Hotel on game days or at our official screening events. As Ellis already mentioned, we've got one tomorrow, 3:30 kickoff. Make sure you're there. Come and see our membership coordinator, Robbie Anderson, to sign up. That'll be it.
No worries, mate. Well, guys, make sure if you haven't got your FA Cup final ticket that you get your hands on one. It's going to be the hottest ticket in town next week.
Yep.
We know how much a final here goes off. They always do, don't they? So make sure you get your hands on a ticket. If you can't, obviously, the game will be on Fox Sports, but it's all about tomorrow for now. Will we get the points over Melbourne City and get our first points of this current A-League season? We hope so, but with this club, anything can happen on any given day. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Purebred Reds. We'll be back with plenty more content going forward. Like and share the page, and we'll see you soon. Enjoy the game tomorrow. Up the Reds. Thanks a lot, guys. Cheers.
Cheers.